You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan Schwarting and Kan Bayazit.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Yuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 76 of Beşiktaş International's The Black Eagles podcast. I am your host, Sinan Schwarting, live from New York City, with a co-host, Mr. Evran Akman. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right.
Are you coming in from Canton, New York?
No, I'm at my normal New York residence.
Home. Still home for the break. But so yeah, you're coming in live from the East Coast of the United States as well. And yeah, big episode today. I guess first we should probably talk a little bit about our absence of late. It's probably fairly clear, what was behind it. There was not much to report, right? We've had a very slow summer thus far, as far as the news goes. There's been sort of news percolating that we've actually mostly addressed, I think, in the preview to the summer. But nothing really was made concrete until very recently, and luckily for this episode's sake anyway, it's really a case of when it rains it pours, because as a little news came in, a bunch flooded in, and now we're starting to get some official stuff as well.
Yeah, it looks like once the bank agreement was signed, all the transfers are getting ready to be completed.
Yeah, exactly. But so, boy, I feel like we're being so professional here. We're just cutting right into it. But really, there's not much to say. We haven't missed much, I guess, right? There's been no Mykonos controversy this summer. There's been very little drama at all. In fact, not much as far as people leaving.
There's been media stirring, but nothing really has happened. They're talking about this player will leave, maybe he'll leave, but no one has actually said anything or done anything. I think last year we had Bobble insulting people on social media.
Yeah, that was a fun little highlight this summer.
So, this year's been pretty tame.
Yeah, fairly uneventful. Trying to think about some news that we may have missed, but really there has not been a lot. But so let's just cut right into it. Obviously, the stuff that's official and very exciting is that, and of course it's fitting that the two gringos, the two American Beşiktaş fans would be the ones bringing in the news, but Tyler Boyd has been made official, and there's no rumors here, there's no need for sources. We've seen pictures with him signing his contract in Beşiktaş training gear. He is a Black Eagle, right fresh off of his Gold Cup appearance with the U.S. men's national team, where he debuted very nicely, scoring twice against, was it Guyana? So we're not
Guyana,
talking world beaters, Guyana, not world beaters perhaps, but still he's earned some plaudits among American football fans, and sure enough, he's a Black Eagle now. So I guess let me hand it over to you, Evran. Give us a little information. Of course, he's coming to us from Ankaragücü, where he performed very well. I believe it was 6 goals?
6 goals, 4 assists, and 14 appearances, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head.
That but
right. Yeah, we got him off Vitória de Guimarães in Portugal.
That's right.
That was the club that owned him. They loaned him out to Ankaragücü for the second half of last season. He has had a bit of a up and down career. He's done well on their B team, and he's done well when he's been loaned out. But for their actual senior team, he hasn't really always performed. So I guess it's like a win-win they loaned him out. He had a great season in the Turkish league, had a good international break. Now they can make a profit on him, and we get a player that should be ready to slot right into a competition on competition on the wings, if not a starting spot. So
Yeah, and
good on the ball, direct dribbler, likes to take players on, so should be exciting.
And the interesting subplot in his whole narrative, I guess, is that he was originally a New Zealander. He speaks with a New Zealand accent, so I'm assuming he actually was born and raised over there. But so he even featured for the, what are they called? The All Whites, I think, which is such a funny name, because the All Blacks are the name of their rugby team. But so they've tried to be clever and call themselves All Whites, but that's a very odd name in effect. But anyway, yeah, the All Whites featured him. I think, was it 3 matches?
Yeah, friendlies.
Just in friendlies, but so yeah, it was a legal.
He was born there, and then that's why he has the accent. He was born there. He came over as a kid and then went back to New Zealand. So that's why his accent is primarily not a Californian accent. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, right. But yeah, he definitely looks to be lively. He's got some pace on him, which is nice. Obviously, given what we have on the wings. I mean, Jermaine Lens has pace, but he doesn't have the technique, perhaps, that Tyler Boyd does. Certainly isn't.
He's also 30.
Yeah, he's getting there, and he doesn't really pose the threat on goal that Tyler Boyd does, at least from what we've seen so far. And again, yeah, Tyler Boyd is coming off the last half season in Turkey, so he's gotten that chance to adapt to the Super League, which suits us very nicely. So yeah, welcome to the team, Tyler Boyd. Now, as a special feature, we've got a returning special guest, Nadim Raja, well-known Ankaragücü fan in the Turkish football Twitterverse, which of course you guys will mostly be aware of, I assume, in the podcast. If you're listening to podcasts, you're probably, on some social media. But anyway, he is Ankaragücü İskoçya at Kanka Group, Kanka Group, one word. And yeah, I'll hand the mic over to Nadim, and he's going to say a word or two about Tyler Boyd, since, of course, he firsthand got to see him play for Ankaragücü.
So, Tyler Boyd, well, firstly, I'm really disappointed to see him go. Not because he's moving to Beşiktaş, but I thought that Ankaragücü might have had a chance of signing him after a successful loan spell, but typical Ankaragücü, with all the financial problems that are happening at the moment, we're really struggling to sign free transfers, never mind pay £2.5 million for a player. So it's a really good move for Tyler. Deserved move as well, and I'm pretty sure he'll do well for Beşiktaş. How important he was for Ankaragücü last season. He was vital in the reason that Ankaragücü stayed up. Him and Orgil formed a partnership straight from the onset when he signed for the club at the end of January, just before the transfer window finished. It wasn't just his goals, it was he created a lot of chances. He provided a few assists as well. I think he four assists in total, on top of the 6 goals that he scored. So that was 10 goals that he contributed to the team since January. And also he had a fantastic attitude. We need to remember that Tyler wasn't being paid his salary. Never complained about it, and still put in 100% in every single game, which is a big testament to the type of character he's got as well. The things that impressed me mostly about Tyler, I would say, is that for a wide player, he's got an end product. So often in football, we see these fancy wide players that have got the skill. They'll go buy 2 or 3 players. Then when it comes to picking at a ball in the box or finishing, they let themselves down. Tyler was completely different. He's a player that doesn't rely on speed or pace to to become effective. His biggest strengths are that he's, as I said earlier on, he's got a final ball. It's really difficult to get the ball off as well because he's got really good close control, and he can score and he can finish as well. I wouldn't say that he's got kind of major weaknesses, to be honest with you, because he gave the complete performance at Ankaragücü, and we need to bear in mind that this was only a 6-month spell that I got to see him, which was very successful. So it's difficult to pinpoint an actual weakness because every game that he played was he was a key player for us. There were 1 or 2 games where the opposition man-marked and even double upped on him. In those games, he kind of struggled to make an impact. But even the best of players in football, if you're putting kind of 2 players on them and tightly marking them, can find it difficult. So that is something that at Ankaragücü, he was the key player. I don't know if that would be the case it won't be the case at Beşiktaş in the beginning. So I think in the beginning he'll get off to a really quick start, and the fans will take him. It's just once he gets to that point where he is maybe a key player for Beşiktaş and he gets that attention, he needs to try and find another way, kind of getting back into the game again and becoming effective. He's a good passer of the ball, very rarely gives the ball away, really careful with it, and he's quite strong as well for a guy that's quite small. Again, I wouldn't say there's a player that he reminds me of because he's very different from a lot of wingers. I would say that, and look, I'm not comparing him, he's nowhere near this level, might never get to this level, but Arda Turan was a player that played in the wide areas and could come in central as well. Didn't always rely on blistering pace to go by players, but he had an end product. That's the type of player that Tyler Boyd is. And again, please, I'm not trying to compare him to Arda Turan because he's not anywhere near that level at the moment. But that type of style is where I would say that he reminds me. I would say that he fits in really well to the Beşiktaş team. I think Beşiktaş, like most fans will agree that they need to go younger. Tyler's just broke into the American national team at the age of 24. Played 4 games, scored 2 goals. So already at international level, he's contributing there as well. Beşiktaş fans in general, they like their flair players and wide players. Although Tyler's not kind of flair in the sense of Ricardo Quaresma, he still has skill that he'll have fans on the edge of their seats. And the fans will love him as well because his attitude, as I said earlier on, I think we always with Tyler we focus on his goals and his assists, and it can be easy on the eye to watch as well. But something that I think will put him in good shape to succeed at Beşiktaş is his attitude. He's very confident. He'll fit in well with the team, and just as I said, a really, really hard worker as well. So he also is pretty strong in the defensive side of the game. As I said earlier on, there is areas where he needs to work on. He's not a finished article, but under the right coaching and the right management and the backing of the support, I think Tyler will do really well. Much to my disappointment, because I would love to have seen him another season at Ankaragücü, and then us maybe kind of selling him on for a profit. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So good luck to Tyler and Beşiktaş for the rest of for next season.
So, thank you very much, Nadim. Very helpful notes there. Of course, informative as always, keeping our fan base the most informed quadrant of the Beşiktaş multiverse, as always, with great guests like Nadim. So, yeah, thanks again for stopping by and giving us that info. Let's keep things moving, though. So, Evran, next up, and this news came in as a bit of a surprise, and it really there was talk of Fener sweeping in for the guy because, first, of course, he was linked to Beşiktaş, as these things tend to be. And, of course, Fener was sweeping in, as they tend to do. And, this guy, Vitor Hugo, a Brazilian central defender coming in from Fiorentina in Serie A in Florence or Firenze, I don't know. Depends where you're from, how you refer to it. But, supposedly a very sound defender. He played 33 matches for Fiorentina last year in Serie A, although supposedly he lost his starting place. Let me hand the mic over to you, Evran. Tell us a little bit about this guy and what's his history like pre-Fiorentina, for example. Where's he coming from?
Fiorentina paid $8 million to get him from Palmeiras in the Brazilian league, which is a pretty decent transfer for a center back, because usually attacking players are more common to come out at like a later age. But he had a better first year, and then from what we heard, second year wasn't quite as good. But he has been called up to the Brazilian national team before, but has never played a game.
What about his dimensions? Is he tall, stocky? What are we dealing with?
He's got a good physique. He's a little bit taller than Vida. He's not absolute unit. He's not massive back there, but
not like AC Milan big enough.
Yeah, he's big enough for Turkish league for sure. He's mobile. From what I've seen, he's definitely more of a aggressive center back, which is usually fine in Turkey.
I'm thinking of like Lugano, or lots of guys have succeeded in that role.
Aggressive.
Ibrahim Toraman.
Maybe not completely disciplined.
Yeah, hopefully better than Ibrahim Toraman. So. But yeah.
I think if he did okay in Italy, he didn't completely flop. He wasn't worth $8 million, but we can't afford $8 million for a center back. So based on Marcelo, was considered a flop. So I think this could be a positive transfer, especially because we don't have, other than Vida, we don't have a top level center back.
And the financial figures are in. It's a loan with an option to buy, and the option to buy is it's definitely not $8 million. It's what was it, four and a half, I believe, 4.5 million euros. So, they're taking an L on this, which is not necessarily the best sign. But I think it deserves to be noted that the whole market has been skewed this entire window. Players have been going on the cheap that people wouldn't assume would. I think FFP, the financial fair play regulations, are starting to have a bit of an effect on the market. Obviously, we're not talking about guys like Griezmann and whatever going to Barcelona. Barcelona is always going to somehow manage, and those guys, Real Madrid, etc. But besides that, there have been some low-key moves that guys have gone for cheaper than you'd expect. So, this hopefully is a kind of reflection of that. Fiorentina is a club that's always sort of in and out of financial trouble. So, maybe there's an element there where they have to get rid of him and recoup some money. So we can hope for the best. Now, I will make a note here that we still have Nicolas Miran, or Isi Miran, as we like to say. And we also still have Enzo Rocco. And we also, of course, have Domingos Vida. And we also have Alpay Çelebi.
And we also still own Fatih Aksoy, who's on loan.
Fatih Aksoy, right, who's on loan to Sivas, I think for at least another 6 months. But
I think it was an 18-month loan, so he's on for next season, which is January.
Let's hope so. Because, he seemed to be doing fairly well. He was getting playing time with Sivas, so, that's good. It's rare when we loan guys, so let's keep that going. Keep up the good vibes. But so another central defender coming in. Hopefully we'll find buyers for one of, if not both of the other two foreign central defenders we've had over the years.
Yeah.
I don't really know. In a way, I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping to see the likes of Alpay Çelebi. Of course, you don't want to rely on performances from guys like that who are young and coming off for pretty serious injuries. But no, I'm kidding. Obviously, that's not really even the issue. The issue is you want. I wanted to see these guys young guys performing. Fatih Aksu I'm not as excited about, but Alpay was getting plaudits for some time, so I think that crowded backfield there is not particularly level. Let's not forget that guys like Necip and Enzo Rocco are still there as well, who were like third or fourth options previously. So, I don't know where the minutes go necessarily for those guys. Hopefully, a bunch get sold.
I think most of those minutes will be going to, if they're going to spend is 500,000, the loan fee was being reported, and then they're going to pay the 1.5 million salaries. So it's basically 2 million invested for one season on one player.
Yeah, I mean we've seen ridiculous things like Kagawa, and I guess brief hashtag Shinji watch, maybe our final one or not, is that there's no news on that front. Supposedly we're still desirous of him, but he's, I think, waiting to see if he can get a deal from Spain or maybe England. We've had a guy go out to Japan and talk to his people, so I think we're probably still in the running for him somehow, but I don't know.
We're still in his Twitter bio, so
Yeah, he still lists us as his team on Twitter. But so, there's nothing definitive there either way. We can certainly hope. I don't know. You can hope for whatever you want to hope for. I hope he joins. You can hope he doesn't join if that's your cup of tea. But Evran, I think tactically speaking, you might prefer we do sign Kagawa because that actually would leave more room in theory for a guy like Quaresma to get minutes, since he doesn't inherently occupy a wing. I think if we didn't get Kagawa, that would mean that we were getting more of a designated left wing, which would spell not so well for Quaresma. But there's no news on a left wing, so let me just put that out there.
Yeah, there's no news.
But so let's move on to the next actual news. And so, by the way, the Vitor Hugo news is still just a Murat Özen rumor, technically. Although it's
not. He says it's done.
And it sounds very specific, so you'd imagine it's not just a rumor, actually. But so anyway, yeah. The next news item is another guy from Eskişehirspor, which is, for those who don't recall, where Dorukhan Tokuz was from. He's actually also a guy who plays in the center of that midfield. And he goes by the name of Mehmet Özcan. Evran, what do you got to say about this kid?
I remember distinctly the first time I saw him play was Denizlispor is kind of like my second team, so I watched them in the second league last year, and there's this goofy looking dude with his shorts up. I was like, who is this guy? He just looks so weird. And then he was actually I didn't like him, but then he was actually kind of good, and he had a really he dribbled 2 or 3 players on the wing, and then cut back, and then they scored, and then Denizli ended up tying. So I was like, I really didn't like him because of that, because I'm immature a little bit, but he's definitely like a low key. Doesn't look like a player, he just kind of looks like a regular dude, and you wouldn't expect him to be good, but he's actually quite technically gifted.
Now Evran,
he runs a little awkwardly, but he can defend. He can play on the ball. He's a Turkish youth international.
Good.
If the price is right, he's only 20. Could be a good transfer.
My apologies for a very brief interruption. I'm adding this in post-production. At this stage, the call between Evran and I went down, and when it picked back up, there were sound issues throughout the rest of the episode. So my apologies. Of course, if you can bear with it, hope you enjoy the rest. And I apologize for the issues. If you can't handle the poor quality, I definitely, in fact, even more so apologize. And of course, the usual high standard of sound quality will resume forthright from here on out. And I am sorry.
For a while, and then when I turned it back on, I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me.
Ah, bummer.
I don't know what's going on, but.
So did you hear my setup?
Yeah, I heard you said I had a hot take about his shorts, which I thought I did mention a little bit, but I didn't want to gas it up.
No, you gotta put him on blast, man. Something he's gotta rectify. So everyone, tell us, man. What specifically is the issue with the way this man wears his shorts and his socks? I want to know.
So his socks aren't too bad up on a reinspection, but my memory is that like his shorts, he tucks them in and then he kind of like wears his shorts up kind of high, so it looks like he's wearing like shorts up to like his mid stomach. He has this awkward gap of like just mid thigh to mid calf, and then he has like this long scraggly hair in like a awkward bun, and he has acne, and it was just like who is this guy? Like they picked up some random dude off the street who's never played before, but he's actually, for unfortunately on that day he was a good player, but I think just hopefully in the future he'll force it to be a good player. Just needs a new stylist. That's all I'll say.
So the man's not winning any style points, but hopefully he'll win
No.
some actual points on the table.
Yeah, he's not Quaresma, that's for sure.
Oh man, well that could be good, I guess. I mean, he's not gonna get irrational red cards. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's probably a harder worker, and all those things.
All the rest too. Well, that's for better or worse. He's not for the. Well, and so I think the only real news that I can think of pertaining to him is that supposedly between he and Dorkan, he was actually the brighter of the two talents, and having all witnessed how well Dorkan has fit into the squad. Yeah, that bodes well. I think we could all agree. And of course, you mentioned that he's a youth international player for the Turkish side. He's not the only one, right? We've got quite a few now in our ranks, and so the extent to which they can gel as a unit playing together, in competitive matches with the under whatever it is, under 19, under 21 squads, as well as with our youth team, and then. Or not with our youth, but with our reserves, or in practice, etc. It all bodes well. I think that these guys are kind of coming up together and coming into prominence together. So, yeah, man, this is good. I like these young guys.
When we got Güven, he was still a youth international. So
exactly.
And so was Dorukhan. He wasn't a senior international yet. Now they're both.
And Muhayyer, right?
Really tough players.
Youth international.
Muhayyer is also a youth international.
And our
made the
new,
jump yet.
this is actually news. Our new promotee, Ozan Akgün. We have 4 guys who got promoted. He's the biggest name among them, I think. Was there another sort of prominent youth that came up with them?
He's the one that everyone's been talking about. Well, not everyone, but that has been in the news.
He's got some very impressive highlights that have spread about Twitter and whatnot. And yeah, he looks solid.
He has a good goal scoring record also.
So maybe Güven will sort of become a solid backup striker, and then this will be the next Güven, who surprises us all and gains the pilots this year. But so yeah,
he just turned 18 3 days ago, so he's a young guy.
And a real Black Eagle, right? This kid has come up through our academy. So,
yeah.
Let's all hope for the best. And yeah, I guess there's one more news item that's the most tenuous, the least concrete. But so yeah, the last one is another new rumor, also Murat Özen inspired. Mert Yilmaz. Now, I know very little about this character, so give me some deets. Give me the details.
Yeah. I would be lying if I say I knew a lot about him. I've heard his name before. He's a right back, and he plays for Bayern Munich's B team.
Okay.
If you want to find him online, like highlights, good luck, because I don't think you can find any unless you watch, the U20 or U19 Turkish national team full games.
So again, another under 19 news.
So he's German born, used to play for one of the German youth national teams, and then switched over to Turkey. Was also a former Leipzig youth player, and then transferred to Bayern in 2018. So he plays currently in the 3rd division for their B team. So he's 20 years old. We don't know anything else about him other than his name, his and his stats. But
Interesting.
I guess someone has seen him. He might be an agent recommendation, but Beşiktaş is looking at him as like a long-term replacement potentially for Gökhan Gönül.
And we have a good recent history of bringing in guys from, German youth sides and them coming good. Guven Yalçın, who we've already mentioned this episode.
Yeah.
Cenk Tosun we didn't bring him from Germany, but he came from Germany to Gaziantep and then flourished with us.
Muhayer is currently from Fortuna Düsseldorf.
Yeah. Where did Cenk come from?
Cenk is we got him from Gaziantep, but he's from Eintracht.
Eintracht, that's where he. So yeah, we've got a storied history bringing these German youths up well. So hopefully this is another case of that, and not.
I mean, hopefully it's not Oğuzhan Aydoğan, who we've never seen before. Yeah.
And not
we got from Dortmund.
Not one of the bad cases. Yeah. So that's it. That's really what we've got. And of course, Mert Yilmaz is the least concrete of any of these. Mehmet Özcan's been news for some time, and so that seems to really be legit. Mert Yilmaz kind of started today, but it's from Murat Üzen, so he's fairly reliable. So hopefully it's again I think given the success of Guven and Dorukhan last season, I welcome these sort of low risk, high reward moves.
Yeah. Mehmet Özcan is supposed to be pretty close. Fenerbahçe is also supposedly interested, but it looks like the offer of Beşiktaş next year is like the numbers are a little bit far apart. Is guaranteed money versus bonuses, so that the transfer is supposed to be probably around $1 million to $1.5 million is what we're expecting. But we'll see what actually happens. Vitor Hugo is supposed to be like done almost, unless anything like something comes up, last second. That could be done within the week. I'm assuming since the bank agreement was signed, we won't have to wait forever like with Tyler Boyd. So some stuff is happening.
Yeah, we can hope so. But yeah, so it all really started coming in today, at least in a sort of more concrete fashion with legit sourcing and all of that. So yeah, that's really the only kind of concrete news we have. Outgoing, who's left? Gökhan Töre just signed with Yeni Malatya.
Yeah, he's been gone, but yeah.
That's official though. He's definitely not coming back.
I'm not sure if the last episode they had said that Şahin Türk was loaned out again to Denizlispor.
Yeah, Sedat Şahin Türk, another guy who came up from our academy, and he's being loaned out.
Yeah, chronic loaney.
Yeah, another one might not pan out.
He was in the second division the past 2 seasons, so now he gets his shot at Super League football for the first time. So we'll see how that goes. Not that it's too crazy, and then we have Orkan Çınar back.
Is he back, or
we'll see if he? Well, he hasn't been loaned out yet, so we'll see if I think he's training. I believe so.
Well,
so,
knock on wood.
I think Chanel kind of gave up on him, but we'll see if Abdullah gives him another chance.
Yeah, I always root for the kids.
Everything is really up in the air right now.
I'm always rooting for the kids. But yeah, besides that, of course, the ever-present news as far as something outgoing has been Burak Yilmaz being rumored to Lecce in Italy. Today I saw a hilarious song that some Lecce fans made to try to attract Burak. It's the most Italian thing you'll ever see. I'm not going to put it in the episode because I don't want to, have any copyright. I mean, it's not even a copyright. I doubt they registered it. But I don't want to have any confrontations with these guys, and I don't want to dignify their theft or their attempted theft of Burak Yilmaz. But anyway, Ali Naivi, who Fikret Orman has put in charge of all our dealings this summer, has come out definitively and kind of, I think, slammed the book shut on that whole thing today, saying there's no way that Burak Yilmaz is going to leave. He's going to contribute to Beşiktaş winning a championship this season, and that's all he said. Which I think kind of leaves open the possibility that we might be willing to sell him at the end of this season, which I'm all for, right? He'd be going into the final year of his contract. He'd be 36, I think, at that point. If we can make any money off of him, that's great. I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it. But I wouldn't
expect him to leave. in general. I mean, right now all the interest is or the rumors is from Italian.
Yeah,
newspapers.
DiMarzio especially.
And whatever DiMarzio says regarding Turkey, it never happens.
And
I mean, ever.
to their credit, obviously,
So.
Lecce fans have actually gotten behind this rumor and gotten excited about it, creating little songs and whatnot. So that's a credit to Burak's profile, perhaps having been risen through his, time with us and Trabzon and Galatasaray and, his success, especially. I call him the Benjamin Button, right? He scores more and more efficiently as he ages, but it doesn't look like he's going to be going. And I don't think anyone wants to see him leave, considering the second half of the season he just had with us. I think we'd all like to see if he can string together a whole season of those kind of performances.
I don't think we trust the board either to bring in a striker based on the most recent. After Cenk left, what we had to go through, I don't think we want to.
Yeah, and of course
risk another.
We were sort of rumored with Mario Gomez and stuff again, and that that could have worked if in fact the Burak stuff had been concrete. That would have at least explained why we would be linked with another aging, striker who's definitely past it. But I think we're fine with the one we have, and hopefully he can keep producing. I'm still not going to get his shirt.
And I don't think we'll get an offer that we can't refuse, like with Cenk. That was 23 million.
Exactly.
With Burak, maybe you'll get 2-3 million. He's 34, 35, so
exactly.
Makes more sense just to keep him.
Yeah. You mean
get what we get from him. Yeah, get the production.
You mean in
that
that third year of his contract next year?
Well, at least for this year, we'll see. We'll see how he does.
Yeah,
this year,
exactly. So for next year, I stand by the fact that for next year we better have something going forward, as a replacement. And if we can get money from a 36-year-old Burak, I would take it. But anyway,
we'll see. I guess we'll see how Güven and Oğuzhan Akgün and Umut Nayir are as potential.
That's right. Yeah.
If they're ready to step up or
Umut
not.
Nayir is going to be given the chance, and Güven Yalçın definitely. He's the one I would look to as hopefully the heir apparent, at least for now.
Yeah, maybe next year he'll be ready to fully take over, but maybe next year we'll sell him. You never know. So.
And so that's it. That's it for transfer stuff. It's good to be back. Hopefully we'll have more to report in the coming weeks. But yeah, that was fun. Plenty to do here, obviously, and plenty to talk about. The last notes are also important, especially for us fans, loyal fans, such as ourselves. But yeah, tomorrow meaning so today is Tuesday, July 16th. Hopefully I'll have this thing up tonight on that same date. So Wednesday, July 17th, hopefully the day you're listening to this. So yeah, the kits are, at least I recall it being reported they were going to be released. Now I'm not so sure. The second news item, and this sort of overlaps, is that we now have our friendly schedule, and this is something we should definitely go over with you guys, our listeners. But the reason this complicates the kit release is that the event that was supposed to be planned for Wednesday also is the day that we're now scheduled for our first friendly match. And of course, Beşiktaş will be hosting Pendikspor. This is also again on Wednesday, March 17th. So if you're listening to this episode, turn on your TV because it might be on right now, or not. It might already be finished. Yeah. So as far as the kits go, they have been leaked. We've probably, most of you have already seen them, I'm sure. There's a lot of throwback in these kits. The black one, not so much, but it's kind of got this abstract pattern, black on black with black Adidas stripes. It's very nice, I think. The white shirt is a throwback, or refers to an old Beşiktaş kit where you have the 3 Adidas stripes diagonally on 2 corners of the shirt. Do you have a better description of that?
I mean, it's kind of like the sash that you see in the Peruvian jerseys, except it's 3 of them and they're disconnected and that kind
but so they're also like diffused and modern. So they've played on that original design from way back in the day. And actually, from that same year's kit, there was an alternate kit that was famously only used once in a game in Amsterdam against Ajax, I believe. And it was a lilac kit with that same design. And so this year, and it's also very recently been linked, our third kit will also feature lilac. Got a black collar, again, a sort of diffused white and lilac thing going on all over it.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the Adidas templates, this one is the only one that we have is like a template kit. It's a Tiro, I believe, 19 template. So it's that like dotted kind of pattern. So it switches between purple and white, kind of fades.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, that lilac is purple.
Looking.
Yeah, it's a sort of light purplish. But yeah, interesting. And what's nice is that although it's a template, it does use this color that does have some historic reference to a famous kit in Beşiktaş's history. And I should probably mention, as we're talking about these kits, that of course we're going to have the kits and review them again with Barış İzgordu, the author who penned the Beşiktaş Formulary, or the Beşiktaş shirts book that was given out during the FEDA season and sold to raise funds for the club. He will be back. We're going to talk about these kits. There's talk of maybe recording it for video so that we can even show you guys the kits and how he analyzes them and everything. I don't know how realistic that is. I don't have camera gear personally, so I don't know how we're going to orchestrate it. But anyway, should be fun again. Stay tuned for that. Yeah, and the kits. What are your thoughts, Evran?
I mean, I think if you didn't get your hopes up, you'll be happy. I think if you had really high expectations, then you might be a little bit like not impressed. But I think the lilac jersey might not go over well, but I think the white and black are pretty. You can't go wrong with it, and they didn't do anything too crazy.
It's funny. At first, I only liked the black one. I liked the abstract pattern on it and stuff, and the kind of multi-tone black. Then I saw the white one being worn, and it grew on me very quickly. And then in these last few days, I've totally come around on the lilac one. I'm actually, in some ways, maybe most excited for it. Because I feel like it's one of those shirts where the color, it's like, people may not appreciate it now, in the moment, but like in 15, 20 years, just like the original lilac one, people are going to probably consider it a collector's item. It's the type of thing that people will have rejected enough this time around that when it comes around in the future, everyone's going to think of it as this rare thing that they don't know many people who own it. And, so, it could be one of those shirts that has that mystique around it. And, I think it's novel. Side note, my daughter loves purple. That's her color. So I'm hoping that this, I always recall how when I was a kid, I had this very bright green New York Jets, the U.S. football team, hat. And that solidified me somehow as a Jets fan. Green happened to be my favorite color. And so I'm hoping I can do some subconscious magical mojo that this shirt will put on my daughter that will solidify her as a Beşiktaş fan. Although I think chances are she's already going to be a Beşiktaş fan, because that's like the only word she associates with football at present, as it is. I think chances are I've already gotten into her head as far as that goes. But this hopefully will, put the nail in the coffin or whatever. So I'm definitely going to get her a little lilac one for sure. But I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it. I like those off-the-cuff ones. I'm one of few people who actually like last season's third kit. Again, it was a template, but I like that kind of off red color. It's, again, unique, And, yeah, I like the black and red. That was kind of cool.
I like the opposite colors, mostly black with the red accents. I think is like that classic one we had with the
eagle. Yeah, I have a match-worn Gökhan Töre from that season.
Oh,
Excuse you, sir. I know exactly what you're doing. No, yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I definitely like the all-black shirts. There was a time in my life when there was only one really all-black shirt, and that was the one I wanted, And now in recent years we've had a ton of all-black shirts. So That's
We have another one this year, so.
yeah,
2 years
this
in a
year
row.
another one.
No,
And it
no
could
Super
still
Bowl.
be my favorite, honestly. But anyway, yeah, stay tuned for that. We're gonna definitely review those kits. And so yeah, last bit of news, which again kind of overlapped there. So as I mentioned, we're playing Pendikspor this on Wednesday, the 17th of July, and let's talk a little bit about our preseason schedule. Evran, tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about it.
So we start off next week with 2 lower league opponents, Pendikspor, and then on the 21st we play Kocaelispor. So
Not next week, this week. It's
Oh yeah,
tomorrow.
this week, yeah. Well,
By the way, in timeout, I should mention the Pendikspor match is going to be available on YouTube. That was just confirmed to me. So look out for that. I obviously don't have like a link. I can't say a link that you
Yeah.
can click. But definitely, yeah, look out for it. It's going to be on YouTube. I suppose probably hosted by the channel that has access. That was a D-Sport or something like
I
that.
think
So,
I believe they no longer have the rights, so that's why it'll be streaming because they never showed our preseason games. So hopefully this,
nice.
fingers crossed, this is the first year we can watch preseason games and not on
All of our friends.
on Periscope streams with someone in the crowd.
Yeah, that was a disaster last summer. Yeah. But anyway, sorry to interrupt. So yes,
Yeah.
Pendikspor, and then who else do we have?
The 4 days later we play Kocaelispor, and then next week or the week after that the team travels to Austria and plays 4 friendlies versus European oppositions: Eibar from Spain, Apollon Larissa from Cyprus, Udinese, who ironically was linked to Dorukan, and then we finished that tour of Austria against Brescia, another Italian
Another
team.
Italian side. Yeah.
And then our last friendly is the 10th of August, which is right before the season. We host Panathinaikos at the Ataturk Olympiad, which is an interesting stadium choice, but
I
yeah.
suppose they're trying to make a national thing about it being against the Greek side, using the whole
Maybe, yeah.
Olympic stadium and all. But interesting. Yeah, it's a good schedule. I like that we're seeing heavyweights like Udinese, and I guess you could kind of call Panathinaikos something like that. But, we're getting
Probably
some
Eibar would be the second strongest team.
Eibar, yeah. I mean, but Eibar, Panathinaikos, Udinese, these are the kind of clubs, or at least the level of clubs that we can kind of expect to see in the Europa League this season, at least in the kind of group stages. Obviously, should we get through the group stages into the knockout stages, it's a shame we're not seeing at least one, Dortmund or I don't know, even like an Eintracht Frankfurt, given their success last season. Someone of a slightly higher level to really test, this unit, maybe towards the
We'll
end of the
probably be
preseason.
first pot in the Europa League, so we'll miss
Yeah,
all
but
the
I'm
big
just saying-
teams, but we could get some mid-level.
Yeah, well, and so I think we're playing that level in the preseason. That's good, but I'd like to see at least one test. One big club. Just what there's, in all likelihood, should we get through the group stage of the Europa League, which we should not consider a guarantee, right? Considering last season, but if we do, we likely come up against a stronger side. Leverkusen or. I mean, I'm literally pulling names out of a hat. I don't know who's even in the running for the Europa League, but
There's a lot of qualifying left to go, so we only know like 10 teams so far.
exactly, yeah. So we shouldn't count our chickens before they hatch. But anyway, point being simply, I wish there was one perhaps better test in the group. But Udinese is not bad. Serie A is definitely a league that's somehow even on the rise. Which, if you can say that, of a top 4 league in Europe.
Back on the rise.
Yeah, they're back on track. I think maybe they could find themselves in the top 3, top 2. I have Spain as number 1.
Yes, I think
maybe
it's-
even the Bundesliga. I'm not big on the Premier League, but that's a hot take, I guess, these days. But yeah, man, I think that's all we've got to really say. That's it. Stay tuned. We'll obviously talk about the preseason a lot as the news comes in. I don't know if we're gonna do a match review for every match. Clearly, we're not going to talk about like the Pendikspor
We'll see.
and the
Hopefully the games are actually streamed.
yeah. Hopefully, all of them will be streamed. But so maybe we'll review both Pendikspor and Kocaelispor together. I don't see us doing each of those matches individually. Well, so we'll find some way to cover all of this stuff for you guys. So stay tuned.
If the games
of
are
course.
streamed, we'll probably live tweet it also.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, stay tuned, of course, for Beşiktaş International. and I'll talk about that on the outgoing, on the goodbye. But yeah, stay tuned. Barish Izgordu and I will be talking about the jerseys. Khan is going to be interviewing. I'm not going to reveal anything. Sort of a special guest regarding Tyler Boyd. We're going to do a Tyler Boyd episode. Thanks again to Nadim Raja for doing that little segment, giving us info. Yeah, Evran, what do you have to say?
I hope Quaresma still stays. So I think Tyler Boyd on the left, Quaresma on the right would be pretty nice. And then a new left back or maybe a new CDM.
You're already displacing.
Ready to go.
You're already displacing this poor kid to get Quaresma on his side of this midfield. Look at this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion. I don't care who goes out. I just want to see that we have proper talent. The one thing I really want to see is a left back. We need a left back. I do not want to see Janer Erkin.
Not a lot of movement there so far. Just a lot of.
Yeah, so I mean that's something we really need. Is Kolodziak a left back or is he a central back?
He's a center back.
Yeah, damn it.
I'm guessing if we're getting Hugo, we wouldn't be getting him also.
Yeah, he's probably off the list. Fener can have our scraps. But yeah, so stay tuned. Hopefully lots more to come, especially news about a left back. And maybe some Kagawa stuff, perhaps another winger. Who knows? But yeah, stay tuned. And yeah, Khan usually cues me up for this. But yeah, I guess I might have to do it by myself. Go Beşiktaş! Yeah, peace out everyone.
Çok harikasın, çok güzelsin, harika, harika, harika. Gol! 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. Yoldan geldi. Dışarı attı. Goodbye Liverpool. Goodbye. Beşiktaş Liverpool'a gidiyor. Karakan'dan Sinan geliyor. Beşiktaş Liverpool'a
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.